Okay, we're live on YouTube, uh,
Okay,
live on LinkedIn.
okay, that's good.
Quickly check. Yeah, live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. Um, live on Facebook too.
That's good.
Okay, just quickly. Okay, all right. So we're good. Okay, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, from wherever you're joining us from. I'm Ubo Matthew by name, and it's another episode of an Hour with a Manager podcast. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in today. Today being the last Thursday of January 2025. It's amazing we've already come to the end of January. Back then we always said January has like 3 months. So I don't know if I'm the only person who felt that we this year, January 2025, was a little bit shorter. But by the grace of God, we have come to the 30th day of January, and tomorrow is going to be the last day for January 2025. So I'm hoping that as much as possible, 2025 has kick-started. So if you're still on the holiday and still having the holiday fever, it's back to work, it's back to plan, it's back to strategy, and let's see how to continue to inspire. And happily or luckily today, I think we have a very good network speed. Gracefully, the network is on our side today. I'm not seeing us have any glitch, so it means we're going to have a very good show. And another thing is, we are going to be discussing this in-depth discussion with our guests. So if you have anyone, your boss, your team member, your colleagues you haven't invited, or share this link with them, which is a tradition which we always do and a way for us to support and grow the show. Please do well to share the link, invite them, call them, text them, however you have to do it. Tell them Imao Michael is on the show on an Hour with the Manager podcast. Tell them Ubo Matthew is about to go live or is about to start the conversation. They should bring their feedback, their questions, and let's see how to brainstorm on this discussion today. But in all, I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation, that you all will be able to gain the insights which would help you start 2025 in a very smooth ground. And trust me, I'm always going to be here for as long as possible to help direct and make sure that every professional, every business leader, and every entrepreneur in Africa and the world at large have access to the right informations and insights to help them navigate all that they're doing. So today, once again, I have Emmanuel Michael, who is popularly known as HR with EM. Well, I'm going to call him, what do you call it? The HR celebrity, which some of you might know him as. Let's welcome him to the show today. Good to have you, Emmanuel Michael.
Thank, thank you very much, Ubong. I know you've been chasing me since last year, so finally from
Yeah.
2024, we've moved
Yeah.
into 2025, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. And I'm hoping that we won't have to be chasing ourselves anymore, but we'll actually have to be achieving success by the grace of God. Yeah.
Yes,
So, guys, like you've heard from our guest Emmanuel, we've been on this conversation on trying to get him on board here since last year, and gracefully we are here today, and I'm sure that there's lots of inspiration and power pack for every one of us. Before we even push forward for this, we have our upcoming magazine, which will be launched next week, which is 6th of February. That's next week, Thursday. It's called Manager's Corner Magazine. That magazine will be focused on remote work, right? So all insights, you'll be having insights. You have contributors from different parts of the world. You have contributors from India, even a contributor, Nico from Deloitte, who has also shared some insights. And you also see some stories in the magazine. So if you haven't subscribed yet or if you haven't pre-ordered yet, do well to find the link in the comments box to share, and let's see how to continue to promote the future of work and help you and help every professional navigate their career. And so, to our conversation today, we're talking about giving and receiving feedback that grows every brand, right? What do we understand by giving and feedback? A lot of people see feedback in different ways. Some people say feedback is king, right? And whatever you do with that feedback is now left for you as a person or as individual. right? And some people just see feedback as just anything, maybe something that scrutinizes them, that they don't really like. Not everybody enjoys feedback, but some other people see feedback as a very what do you call it, reasonable tool that can help drive their growth, drive their personal brand, and drive most of their activities. But today, our guest here will also share with us what his own concept of giving and receiving feedback is all about, and how, as professionals, we should leverage on this. But before we go into the topic of giving and receiving feedback,
See me or is it you?
our listeners meet you today.
Okay, so I noticed that I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, because I lost the connection. I don't know if it's from my side or from your side.
Okay.
So let's see how it goes. Okay. So I didn't get. Did you ask a question? I know you were
Okay. Yes, I
giving an
asked the question that
intro.
we would like to meet you. Let's know what you've been doing for the past
Okay.
30 years plus. Yes.
Okay. So my name is Emmanuel Michael. I'm a leadership coach. I've been in HR for the last 2 decades. I think 2026 will make it 22, 22, 20. Actually started in 2003, right? 2003, yes. So that
Yeah.
will make it almost 22 or 23 years now, lost counts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so over 2 decades, yeah. Practicing HR, and I've been in HR leadership. So currently, I'm a leadership coach, and my expertise in terms of leadership coaching. I focus on people who want to become leaders,
Yeah.
who are struggling leaders, or if you're a new leader, you don't know what to do to be able to excel in that particular leadership role. So
Yeah.
I help you to understand exactly what you need to do to become successful in your leadership role. So that's basically what
Okay.
I do currently. Yeah. So that's me.
Thank you very much for that brief, in-depth insight. Um, yeah, to everyone, if you have your questions, you have any comments, please feel free to send them to the comment box. Let's blow up the comment box, blow up my DM. If you can't send them to the comment box, feel free to send them to my DM, and we would see how to connect that with EM, and he will respond to you. For the conversation today, talking about giving and receiving feedback. Um, I know you've been on the leadership role, or you've been on the leadership journey for the past 23 years and still counting, and even more than that, right? How do you understand about what do you understand about the concept of giving and receiving feedback?
Okay, so when we talk about giving and receiving feedback, I would like to situate it around the importance of feedback. Okay,
Okay.
especially when we talk about growth and we talk about development in your career. Feedback is very essential. If you don't know how well you are doing, you will not be able to know whether you need to improve or you need to consistently do what those things you do. So feedback will help you to know whether you should keep on doing what you're doing. Will enable you know whether you should step back. Will enable you know whether you need to learn something new that you need to do. So it helps the individual in areas of improvement. What do you need to improve upon? Okay, what new skills do you need to acquire? And then it also enables you know whether the goal that you've set for yourself, if you are achieving them or not. So for me, I like to receive feedback, even with my team, people that I lead. From time to time, when we have our one-on-one, I usually will ask them, how am I doing? What is it that you expect from me? How, the way we've related, okay? Is there any area that you think you want me to improve? Even at home, you can do the same thing with your family and ask them, You want to be a father, you want to be a good father, okay? Ask your children, ask your spouse, ask your friends, whether you are that kind of friend or father or parent that you, how do they, let them assess you and give you that feedback. So it will help you to be able to know whether the objectives and goals that you've set for yourself, if you are meeting them, or there's need for you to work on yourself to get better. So in our career, it's very critical that we keep seeking and asking for feedback. Okay, that is the only thing that will help us to be the best. We all want to be, we all want to excel and be the best in what we do. Without feedback, it will be difficult. So even if you take an organization, any organization that does not solicit feedback from their clients, from their guests, they will not know whether they are satisfying the need of that particular client or not. They will not know whether they are satisfying the need of the guest or not. And they will not know how to surpass the need of that particular guy. So we want to surprise and delight people that we work with, okay? People that work with us. The only way we can do that is by getting feedback, and that feedback will then help us to ensure that we deliver the best to them. So one, feedback helps you to be the best. It also helps you to deliver the best to the person that you are serving. So that's my idea and concept of feedback.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that in depth. Right, you've talked about feedback helping you be the best and doing the best and achieving the best result, right? But a lot of people, which I know you're very familiar with this, still a lot of professionals, a lot of leaders, still let's start from the employee part, right? A lot of leaders, a lot of employees find it very difficult to see feedback as some as a very valuable tool for them, right? And like the 5 points we had shared regarding this very discussion. How do you go about accommodating how do you go about accommodating those employees who find it difficult to understand what feedback is or why feedback is important for their personal growth or for their own, for the growth of the organization too?
Okay, so people who refuse or don't want to take feedback is because they don't understand the value uh, that they can get from feedback. If you understand the value that you can get from feedback, you will not be afraid to ask for feedback. So that will be my message to the employee. So if you want to be the best in whatever you do, then you need feedback. But the other thing again that scares people from feedback is the way feedback is communicated, okay? So there are certain key principles for giving an effective feedback. And if we stick to these key principles of giving effective feedback, then we will get the best from the person that we're giving the feedback. The person who's giving the feedback will get the best. The person who's receiving the feedback will also get the best. So the first principle, okay, there are about 4 principles that I'm going to share. So the first one is that in order to give an effective feedback that will enable one to grow, enable the employee to grow, that feedback must be specific, it must be timely, and it must be relevant. So when you want to give somebody feedback, you now say, you've not been doing well, you've not been performing, your performance is not good. You've not passed any message. You need to be specific. I expect you to be in the office at 8 a.m. every day. But I've noticed that instead of resuming at 8 a.m., you resume at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. You now then ask the person, so I would like to know what challenge are you facing that is making you to come to work late? Okay. So it's different from saying you are always late. So if you say you are always late, maybe it's just once or twice that the person has been late. But if they know that they need to be here at 8 o'clock, but they are there 9 o'clock or 9:30 or 8:30, and because they come late, you also let them know the impact of what they are doing. How is it affecting the work that you assigned, or how is it affecting their job? So if they understand what they've done, how it impacts the job that they are doing, okay, and then you'll be able to get from them why are they doing the things that they are doing, and then discuss and agree with them how can they improve. Maybe they need you to support them. It could be that, let's take for instance, I'm in Lagos. Traffic is always a problem. Transport is a big challenge. So if you go and said that you want people to be at work at 7 o'clock or 7:30, they might be late if you don't provide any means of transport for them to be around. So, and then depending on where the person is also living, okay, maybe living in the mainland, maybe in the inter mainland, and then he's coming to work on the island. So there's need for you to be specific. So be specific on what it is, and then be timely when that thing occurs. That is when you should give feedback. Don't wait until appraisal time and say, okay, don't worry, keep doing what you're doing. When it's appraisal time, I'm going to catch you. Then by the time you get to appraisal time, you now start explaining. The person will say, no, but I did well. No, it was not like that. So there's no recency, okay? It's not recent, so it's not timely again. And what you want to correct, the purpose of giving feedback is for people to improve. If you don't give it timely when you are supposed to give to it, the person will not improve. So let's say maybe we're meeting our sales numbers, and you wait until the end of the month before you give the feedback. We've already lost the business. But if you give the feedback on the first day or in the first week, before the end of the month, we will take a corrective course of action and then get it done. So that's key principle number one. Key principle number two is focusing on behavior rather than the personality. So don't say you are a late comer, okay? You are not good. You are focusing on that person, the personality. Focus on the issue. I expect you to be at work at so time. I expect you to deliver this report by so time. Focus on the issue. That is not
Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah.
Have you had any experience trying to solve this for an employee before? And how did that whole process work for you?
Every day. In fact, today at work, there is I got a report yesterday of someone, a staff bus, okay, and the bus driver was supposed to drop me at a particular bus stop, but the bus driver didn't get to that particular bus stop that they're supposed to drop this particular staff. And then what happened? The staff now started dragging the steering with the driver. That could have caused an accident. They will have an accident. Everybody there could crash into another vehicle, and life will be lost. Right. So what did I do? Get the staff in, and then call the driver, and then we focused on the issue. Instead of saying this staff is a useless employee, is not good, is putting everybody's life at risk, we went straight to the point, okay? After they narrated all the story, so I just went straight to the question. So what exactly, the guy had narrated the story, did you hold him? Because he was saying, no, I did not hold the driver, I did not punch the driver, nothing. I thought, okay, did you, so what did you do? Did you hold the steering? He says, he just held his hand. I said, okay, but where was the driver's hand? On the steering. And then you were dragging it. He said, yes. So, so I have situations like that every now and then. So focusing on the specifics. So I said, okay, we're not going to focus on all the long stories you want to share. The issue is, did you hold the driver's hand when his hands were on the steering? The answer is yes. So which means you were dragging the steering with him and you could have had an accident. Okay. And then the implication, I also shared the implication of what he was doing. So if in the course of doing that and the driver lost control, what will happen? They will crash. And if they crash, the vehicle will damage, people inside the vehicle will have an accident, and people could injure, and it could be fatal. So he understood exactly what happened, and then he promised to be of good behavior. So that's focusing on the issue. The other thing, again, key principle number 3 is using the I statement instead of you statement. When you want to share a feedback, okay, stop. When you say you keep pointing at the person. Describe to that particular person you're giving the feedback how what they are doing is impacting on you. Okay, that is me now. So I can say, when I asked you to provide this report by 10 o'clock, you promised to deliver the report by 10 o'clock and you didn't do it. It made me look bad in the presence of my superior because I was supposed to transmit that particular report to my superior. Okay, and so if you were in my shoe and you had given me this particular assignment and I didn't give it to you, how would you feel?
How would you feel?
Yes. So there's need for us to use the I statement instead of saying, you are a bad person, you did this, just keep blaming. But let them know what they've done, let them know the impact. And then the last part, which is the fourth part of the key principle, is providing actionable recommendation for improvements. So you see, like the example I gave about the staff who was holding the steering with the driver. So we had to discuss, so what will we do next time? Okay, so if you find yourself in such a situation where the driver is refusing to take you to your bus stop, very simple, you escalate. You call a superior and let them know, call someone in the HR team and escalate that particular challenge. And then they will speak, because the driver doesn't report to you. So he might not want to listen to you. So he will take an action. So, and it cuts across. So even if it's in your work, the work is not being done properly, then you agree what the person needs to do in order to improve. Either they need to go and learn that new skill, or someone is going to coach them to get the job done. So for me, those are the key principles for giving an effective feedback. So it has to be specific, timely, and relevant. You need to focus on behavior rather than the personality. You need to use I statements instead of you statements. And finally, we need to provide actionable recommendations for improvement.
Thank you very much for that impactful response. Right, talking about your employee who is actually dragging the steering with the driver would have probably given the boss for the employee to just drive, and maybe he would just have to be the driver for the day. But well, every day we get to find ourselves in those spots where we have to look for ways to connect with other people, because with the whole tech rise and people not being able to being able to communicate effectively, it feels like it's drawing drain or drawing down on much professionals, right? Looking for how to communicate without having to maybe go look for a source. How do I reach out to this person? How do I ask this question? But a quick one, with the rise of the Gen Z's market, let me use that word, and the Gen Z's initiatives or process, how because I understand that like the millennials, there's how there's how they take feedback, and likewise the Gen Zs, right? How do you see this comparison, right? We're working with Gen Zs and in giving them feedback, and how do they take this feedback? Because some bosses might say Gen Zs are like the most difficult people to work with or probably to give feedback to, and I don't know how that works for you in your own opinion.
So whether it's Gen Z, millennial, or whatever age grade or generation uh, we're talking to, one important thing is that, especially for the Gen Zs, everyone wants to be dignified, okay? They don't want you to belittle them. They don't want you to treat them as if they are little children who don't know what to do. So everyone wants to make sure that their dignity is intact. And then so that will help to determine how they will receive that particular feedback. So if I'm giving you a feedback, I'm feeling that, okay, because you are very young, and so I can talk to you anyhow, you will begin to notice that they will begin to complain, okay? And say that they're not enjoying the work, and maybe they start complaining about their mental health. So the Gen Zs are very good at complaining about my mental health, my mental health. Every little thing is now mental health. They are frustrated. So there is need to manage this kind of emotions, and the way you manage
But,
the
but, but you
emotion.
know, but you know, they're,
Yeah,
but you know, they're becoming most of the population in the workplace. We have to look for a way to blend up with them.
yeah, yes. So that's why they now need to. They also need to understand the implication. Like I said, if you're able to clearly point it out to them and they understand the implication of what the action that they've taken and how it affects both the business and themselves, okay, and how it makes people to perceive them, then you will notice that they will begin to listen to you. But if you treat it that, okay, this is the way they are, this is their behavior, then the person will begin to resist and begin to become defensive. So there's need to manage that particular emotion, okay? And as you are speaking to the person, you watch out for the body language to see how they are responding to what you're saying. That could help you to either tone it down or change the strategy of how you communicate with them.
Okay. I came across a story about an employee who had a funeral of her uncle, and her boss said, instead of instead of giving you a full day off, I'm going to give you a half day off. That's a special preference, but with the option that make sure you don't share this with what do you call it, with other of your team members, letting them know that I give you a preference, right? And this sparked a lot of conversation online with people saying, hey, if I was that employee and my boss denied me of my what do you call it, the funeral, for me to go for my uncle's funeral, I won't do this, I won't do that. I'll send the next day, I'll be sending my resignation. Next day, I'll be doing this, I'll be doing that. But in your own opinion, because this boss had already stated out clear that, hey, I can't give a full day off because of what you are doing, right? But this is the best option I can give to you. Go and come back. How do you see that boss's what do you call it, decision at that very moment? Do you think it's not okay to give preference to some excuses or maybe requests?
Okay, so for me, I think, when someone loses somebody who is close to them, the organization should actually have a policy around that.
Okay.
Because, sometimes when we say, because of the task I've been giving you, I can't let you go, it means that that organization is not prioritizing the well-being of the people that work for them.
Yeah.
And if you don't prioritize the well-being of the people that work for them, it will also show in the quality of the work that they deliver. So for me,
Yeah.
it's better we have a policy around this, such that when people lose anyone who is there to them, you're able to give them a compassionate leave. One day off work is not going to damage that organization. Okay, let's even say, for instance, something happens to that particular employee and they fall dead. They fall down and they die. Will you not move on? The organization will move on. So one day, I don't think it's going to be a big. And then, because the person is even off, if it's something that they can actually go wait, maybe later on work on them if it's possible. Okay, but if it's not possible, giving them one day off, I don't think that would be a big deal. So for me, I would expect that the organization, especially because they lost someone and they are grieving, and that person is very close to them. Say it's the person's uncle, right? So the person, maybe this is even the uncle that they've been staying with, and then you now say just go half day and come back. For me, it just shows that that organization does not prioritize well-being. So we need to have a policy around it and ensure that a day or two is provided for them to be able to go mourn the dead, do the burial, and then come back. So it's just a funeral service that the person wants to attend. So why not give them that day off? That would be my view, to give the day off. So prioritizing well-being is critical for every organization if you want to get best out of your people. Because when you prioritize well-being, it shows that you care, you are empathizing with this particular employee,
Yeah.
and they will want to go all out to get that job done for you, even do better jobs than you would expect from them.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I just want to take us a little bit to the leaders and the managers itself who are actually in front of these employees every day, making decisions to also impact them and also what do you call it, politicking, right, for the benefit of their own what do you call it, team members, right? How do you think they receive, how do you feel managers or leaders receive feedback from their employees? Because sometimes maybe it's always a one-way stream where only the employee shares feedback. But now let's talk about the bosses, because not every boss actually perceives feedback as something very okay. So boss, after giving certain kind of feedback, you're going to lose a job the next day and you don't have to come back. And some boss, you give feedback and you know that your job is at stake for the meantime. But how do you see leaders, or how do you think leaders should go about receiving and taking feedback?
Okay, so in every organization, there's need to have sessions where we talk about uh, common barriers to giving and receiving feedback. And as we talk about this common barrier, we also discuss how do we overcome this barrier. So if we have such conversations in the organization, it will make it easy for both the leaders to receive good feedback and both the team members to as well receive feedback. And some of the common challenges that hinder effective feedback, okay, include one, fear of conflict or hurting one's feelings. So because you don't want to, you are afraid that when you start giving feedback, the person is going to fight back and say, oh, okay, you are one of those people plotting for my downfall in this organization. So it could be both ways, right? And so people are afraid to give feedback because they are afraid if I share this feedback, what will happen? So one of the organizations where I work, I maintain, in fact, every organization, I maintain an open door. So I take in feedback every now and then. And so some people will come to me and say, they want to come and see me, but they are afraid. They don't know how they're going to take it. They have something they want to suggest and all that, you know. So you need to make people feel comfortable that they are safe, okay? That when they share, there's no feedback that is bad. So they might not understand something and they are sharing based on the knowledge or understand that they have, okay? Because they don't have all the information. And so you cut them some slack, right? So that's one major fear of that conflict, fear that I will hurt someone's feeling. So if we address it and people know that no matter the feedback that you give, because I usually tell people who come to me that if you come to me with a feedback, that the worst, or come to me to ask for something, the worst answer you will get is a no. So don't be afraid to get a no. So it means that no, you need to try next time, okay? So that's the worst thing that you can get. So if we're able to address that fear of conflict or whether I'm going to hurt someone, then fine. Lack of trust and psychological safety, which I've talked about. So if we don't trust that when we provide feedback, provide that it will be used. So I have situations where people come to me, as you know, when you're at HR, you hear a lot of things. People come to you and give you feedback about what is going on. They are afraid. When they give you this information, how are you going to utilize it? Are you going to go to a meeting and say, XYZ came to me and said this? You won't get feedback next time. Nobody will provide you information that will help you to improve the environment or the workplace, okay? But if they give you feedback, you do your own independent check, and then you communicate it in such a way that this is something that you are noticing around the organization that needs for us to look into it, and then make some more inquiry. People will begin to change, okay? The other thing again is the power dynamics and hierarchical relationship in the organization. So sometimes you feel this person is up there, and so you don't want to, and you notice that they are doing something that is not helping the organization, but you are afraid, or you have a suggestion of what can be done. So you feel the person is up there. So if that person who is up there does not make himself available, like for me, I usually tell my team members that you don't have to wait. We have situations whereby people say they want to wait until you have got into the office, sit down, relax before they come and speak to you. So I tell people each time I meet them, my team members, that they can stop me anywhere. You don't have to wait until I'm in the office. If you see me walking past and you have something to say to me, just stop me and I will listen to you. So it makes them feel comfortable and they can come to me at any point in time to share something, whether positive or negative, okay? Then the language, cultural or language barriers could be another obstacle, okay? So depending, like you know, in Nigeria here, or if you work in a global organization, you have people from diverse background, and the way we communicate is different, right? So they need to understand the best way to be able to share, make sure that in the course of sharing that feedback, that you are respectful, because some people like respect. So you are respectful in the way you communicate and share the feedback, and then people will take it in good faith. So having a session where we create that awareness, the need for feedback and how people can give and receive feedback, and the importance of giving and receiving feedback will help to improve that kind of relationship, so that leaders can begin now to get the kind of feedback they need. Because if a leader is sitting up there, you know, they said at the top is very lonely. People will be running away from you. Nobody, they will be seeing what is going on, but they won't tell you. They will say, but we expect that you will see. There's no way you will see it. Because when you're up there, your eyes are up. Your eyes are not down. So you need people whose eyes are on the ground to come and tell you this is what is going on. And then you can double check and then work with it. So that's, for me, how leaders can help themselves and help their team members to share and receive feedback. And it's good to always have this 360-degree kind of feedback where you assess yourself on certain parameters and expect your team, your peers and your direct reports also assess you. So let's keep asking for feedback. Make them comfortable, and then we share the real truth with you. Okay.
Okay. So I have two questions from what you've shared here. First is conflict good?
Yes, there is good conflict, there's bad conflict. Okay?
Why?
Bad
Yeah.
conflict focuses on the personality. Bad
Okay.
conflict focuses on personality, while good conflict focuses on issue, the issue.
Okay.
So it's good to have good conflict. So when there's a conflict, we should address the issue. We need to address the issue. What is it that has happened? Like I said at the beginning, what is it that has happened? What is the impact of that thing that has happened? Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do we do to resolve it? But when we then move away and then start attacking the personality, attacking the person, then that becomes a bad conflict. But we can never run away
Okay.
from conflict. We will always disagree to agree in an organization, in an
Yeah.
organizational setting.
Of course.
Always. Okay. We will disagree to agree. So, simple example, I can ask my team member to draft me a memo on something, and I dictate what I want them to do. Then they go draft it and then bring it. Maybe just simple formatting. They didn't format it properly, right? And maybe I've corrected them before, and then the thing is repeating itself again. So I can say, you don't seem to listen. You're always absent-minded. No, instead of focusing on the issue. So I need to focus on what it is that they've not done well and address that part. So they will then know how to correct themselves. So conflict is good. And without conflict, you will not be able to hear the the other side of the story. So you always want to hear the other side of the
Both sides.
story. Yes, both
Yeah.
sides of the story. So, and it's only conflict that can bring that. So something needs to happen for you to be able to hear the story of what is behind what is happening. So we should not be afraid of conflict. Okay. However, when conflict arises, don't attack the person.
Yeah.
Don't attack the person.
Yeah.
Attack the issue because we are all driving towards a common purpose. Okay. If whatever it is
Exactly.
that we're working on works out well, it will be to the glory of all of us who are participating in that particular project.
Yeah.
Okay. But if we now focus
Yeah.
on the person, it means that that person that we're attacking, he's the one who made us not to achieve. What will happen? It means that
Yeah.
person will withdraw. And when he or she withdraw, maybe
Yeah.
their contribution is valuable. Next time they will not want to contribute. When something is going on, they will just, no, if I contribute now, they will say it's my idea that made us fail, right? Instead of examining that idea and finding what
Yeah.
is it that we didn't do well so that we can improve
Mm.
on that particular idea so that we do well the next time.
Thank you for that in-depth knowledge. And I'm sure everyone who's listening to this and will be listening to this much later is taking note of some of these insights. And another thing I wanted to jump quickly on is you spoke about 360 degrees feedback loop. So how does that work for, let's say, I'm a leader and I want to implement this in my organization. How does that work and how can that be effective for me to use?
It's very simple. You don't need to do anything too complex. A 360
Okay.
degree. So even if you are not, you can just ask 3 or maximum 5 questions. Okay. So there's this simple one that I normally carry out. I think maybe 3 questions. So you just ask yourself, you ask your team members, right, and your peers.
Yeah.
What is it that? What do you do that they like and want you to keep doing?
Yeah.
What do you do that they don't like and want you to stop doing?
Okay.
Then what is it that you do not do that they want you to start doing? So 3 questions. So what should you start doing? What should you stop doing? What should you improve on? 3 questions. So if you ask these 3 questions, you'll be surprised the amount of information you will get from your team members. So this is the simplest way. And you can do a simple Google form and ask them to fill it. Alternatively, you can do anonymously and then ask them to write it or type it and drop it in a box for you. But those are the 3 questions that you want filled out. Or if you don't want to use, maybe Google form will be able to take in their details. You look for any survey
Anonymous
tool,
mode. Yeah.
anonymous survey tool that they can use, and then they provide that information, and that will help you.
Thank you very much for that in depth.
Then
And
if
to
you want
everyone who's
some more
listening to
complex,
this,
if you want some
yeah,
more complex tool, Then you can then outsource it and get. But this is, for me, that's the simplest way of doing it, and you get some information from your people here.
Thank you for that. And to everyone who's listening to this, I hope you are taking down each of these points. You are getting the insights and the strategies. We have a couple of people here in the comments. Thank you very much, Ramin, Sonny, Coach B. Appreciate you joining us. Mary Michael, Lufemi, appreciates the update. Just a quick one. Now with the manager has since come on board for the past 2-3 years and has been doing amazing stuff in the professional space. And like I shared initially, we have our upcoming magazine called Manager's Corner, and this very issue is focused on remote work. We are asking questions on the future of work. We are asking what are the strategies, what are the trends. We're seeing so many things happen, like the DeepSeek with ChatGPT. There's so much going on in the future of work, future of business, and life in general. So that magazine is going to help you, give you those insights as leaders, as professionals. So if you're here to subscribe, if you're here to pre-order, please find the link in the comment box and engage with us as much as possible. And don't forget to always subscribe and follow up on all of our conversation. All right, so coming quickly to the comment box, Romy is asking a question here, talking about what do you call it, interview. So it says there, I think that also ties to one of the what do you call it, principles of effective feedback you had mentioned, which talks about specificity. We're actually saying, what specific feedback can candidates seek after an interview to improve their future performance?
Sorry, take the question again. What specific what?
Feedback can a candidate seek after an interview to improve their future performance?
Okay. So most times the interviewers would not want to tell you what you didn't do right or what you did wrong in the interview. But it depends also on the level. So they might not want to give you that feedback on the spot, right?
Yeah.
Some, if it's a lower level role, sometimes the interviewers want to give you feedback and say, okay, when you ask them, you can easily ask what's their perception of your performance. You can ask them, what's the perception of your performance? Or alternatively, you can also ask before you leave, what would success look like for the person that they are looking for to occupy this particular role? So based on the answers that they're going to give to you, it will enable you to begin to assess yourself, whether some of the things that you've said aligns with the kind of person they are looking for that will be successful for this particular role. So when you ask that question and they provide you an answer, whoever we're going to select, this is what success will look like, okay? And then that would help you know whether you provided the right answer or wrong answers, or whether you did well or not. But sometimes for lower level roles, what I've also noticed is that sometimes the interviewers might give you direct feedback. Okay, the next time when you're going for an interview, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you need to observe this. Maybe the way you dressed, you didn't dress properly. Okay. They might make comment about your dressing. They might make comment about how you answered the question. So usually I always recommend that candidates use the STAR framework in responding. Talk about the situation or task that you were given, the action that you took, and the results of the action that you took. So if you use that STAR model in responding to all the interview questions that you are asked, it will help you to be able to address some of the questions. So some interviewers might say, okay, when you are answering this particular question, this is the way I want you to answer it, or how I would have loved you to answer it, okay? So don't be afraid to ask the interviewer what would a candidate who is regarded as successful to occupy this particular role, what would you define as what would the parameters that you use to define that this candidate is actually successful and that's the candidate you want for the role? And they will tell you.
Okay. Talking about interview process, I came across a post, I don't know if it's this year or last year, late, I think maybe December or maybe early this year. came across a LinkedIn post about from a HR. I should have probably just maybe screenshot that. I'm talking about what do you call it? Saying that organizations, it's high time organizations start reverting back to candidates, or what do you call it, why they didn't take them on a roll, for what reason and all of that. This, what we mostly used to is you apply for a job, only those that are taken, they get to reach back to others. They tell them, hey, sorry, we're unable to take you. Maybe you try again some other time, right? Without leaving a feedback, without leaving a reason, without leaving a what do you call it, a note for improvement, right? But in your own case, in your own opinion, how do you see organizations implementing such process, and do you think it's going to be helpful maybe for the applicants next time or something?
Okay, so giving a detailed feedback on what the candidate did right and didn't do well, did right and didn't do right, could be dicey, okay? And there are legal implications. So depending on how the feedback is couched, it can become a legal issue that you didn't choose me. Let's say, for instance, you want to hire candidates and you've interviewed several people and you want somebody who speaks a particular language, or you want somebody who's coming from a particular region of the country, and you now tell the candidates that you've interviewed that, okay, you discover that they are from X, maybe from their record, it's not possible for you to know where they come from or the languages that they speak. Maybe that information is not provided, and those are part of the things that you ask during the interview. And you didn't select them because of those things. You can be charged for discrimination, right? Or maybe you saw the person, they didn't declare their age, and you now see that they are advanced in age, and so because of that, you don't want to take them. They are good, but because of age, you're not taking them. So that's discriminatory practices. So, which is why most times organizations don't tell you the specific reason why they are not selecting you. They just tell you that you don't fit the profile that they are looking for. Okay. So
Okay.
it's dicey. It's dicey, yes. So except in situations where maybe, but the thing is that, when adverts for jobs are published,
Yeah.
the specifications are published, and the shortlisting is done based on people who meet the specifications. So already,
Yeah.
by being shortlisted, it means that at least you meet the basic requirement for that particular job. So the next thing now is to engage this candidate to see if what they have on paper matches who they claim to be. So you have some people who have very beautiful CVs. I've seen people who have beautiful CVs only to come here, and then I start interviewing them, and then discover that all that they filled on their CV, they are all just telling lies. So such a person, what do you want me to write and tell them in the CV that they are liars?
Maybe that's what the HR is trying to refer. Let's probably tell them, hey, your CV is not what it's supposed to be.
Yes, you told liar, you told lie. So usually that interaction engagement will be in the
Yeah.
meeting there. So I'll be asking you, you'll be giving me answers. I'll just be noting it on the CV. No, but I won't start telling you that is why I'm making the decision. But I know that this person, based on my interaction and what they put down on paper, there's an integrity issue, right? So if I now come and tell you integrity is the issue, then you now have to take me to court, come and prove the integrity. So why waste time creating
Yeah.
problem for myself? It's better to tell you that you don't fit the bill. So, and then I move on to a candidate who meets my. But it's good to provide feedback so that people know that they should not be waiting. After a candidate attends an interview, they'll be waiting for a reply to know whether they are successful or not. So if you know you're not going to select them, it's good to send them that message to let them know that they are not successful. If they then decide to reach out to you, maybe the recruiter, I would gladly speak with the person and then share, not in detail, maybe
Yeah.
few, but I wouldn't want to commit that in writing because they can go and now screenshot it and I'll see it over the social media. This is the reason these people are not hiring us, you know. So, but even with when you speak to people on phone these days, they try to record people as well.
Yeah.
So, but you need to record with consent. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it for me.
Thank you for sharing that. And you know, um, Still talking about feedback, we have a comment here from Coach B saying generic feedback does no good. How do you see that? How is that in your opinion?
Yes, I've said it. It does no good, right? And so you are also careful not to get yourself entangled in legal matters. So if
Yeah,
if I have like I've interviewed 10, 20 people. Sometimes you do these mass interviews. It's
yeah,
not possible for you to be able to provide specific feedback on everyone on what is wrong. The only people you might
yeah,
want to provide specific feedback to, maybe if it's at the top level, and if the person comes back to you, usually you have, what happens on the system is that for those people who are using automated system, there is a template of what
yeah.
you use. So for those people who don't meet it, you just hit the template and it goes to them. Simple. So if the person now reaches out to you one-on-one, then you can go the extra mile to share a specific feedback. But writing specific feedback for everybody is a lot of work. It means I need to hire someone. That's just what they sit down and be doing. Yeah.
That's
It
a
might
lot of
not be
work to
helpful,
even think
yes,
about
but
it.
it might not be helpful, but it saves time. So if that candidate, what I expect is candidates should try to get a coach. Okay, there are
Okay.
coaches that specialize in preparing people for interviews. So if you get a coach to walk you through some of the likely interview questions, you'll be able to know how to answer those interview questions. And then if you don't do well, you come back to your coach, and then the coach will double check with you. Okay, what sort of questions were you asked? How did you answer them? And then they can give you their own, perception of what they think, where they think you didn't do well.
Hmm. Thank you very much for sharing that. But talking about coach, is it advisable to always have a coach walk you through, and why is it very important to have a coach to guide you through an interview process? Because maybe some people might look at it as cost effective, right? Even mentorship and consulting, some people might look at it as cost effective. But these days, you realize that while some people would say, "Hey, can't I just go and open ChatGPT or DeepSeek and just ask, how can I just run through this interview?" And like when you go to the interview, you'll be speaking to a robot.
So ChatGPT can also help you. ChatGPT can serve as a coach. So if you know how to craft your prompt very well, either you have a physical coach or you have an AI coach. Okay. Uh, the only difference between the physical coach and the AI coach is that human interaction,
Yeah,
empathy that you get as from a human being might not be there. That personal touch might not be there.
yeah,
But you can actually use ChatGPT. So there are prompts that you can write and tell the ChatGPT you want them to act as the interviewer, and then share with them the job profile that you're going for. They should ask you likely interview questions and also rate your responses to those questions. So ChatGPT will begin to ask you the questions, you provide the answer, then at the end, they will assess you and say, okay, this is how you perform here, you did well, here you need to change the way you respond to the question. And so that's basically what you also get from a coach that you see face to face. So I recommend that everyone who wants to go for an interview seek out a professional who can guide them on how to answer interview questions. It helps, okay? Uh, the questions you might meet at the interview might not be exactly what this person is asking you,
yeah,
but it will help you to structure the way you answer your question. So let's say, for instance, you decide to use the STAR framework or the STAR method of responding to the
yeah,
questions. It means that for every situation, you need to look for an example of how you've dealt with a particular situation in the past, okay? And the outcome of what you did. So you have a long list of examples. And because you've made a note of all those examples, when you get to the meeting, it's easy for you to remember, because they might ask you a question, okay, so tell me a time when you find yourself in a particular place and you were given a task, you needed to bring some people to work. Maybe you want to measure teamwork. So then you now start thinking, project, is there any project I participated? You forget that even when you were in school, you participated, you collaborated with others to write an assignment. That's the project, okay?
yeah, yeah,
Even at home, maybe you and your siblings were asked to clean the house. That's project, and you were the one arranging everybody. So there are several examples. So when you sit with a coach, he or she will guide you and help you realize that there are certain things that you consider insignificant, but they're actually skills that can be transferred to the job.
Okay.
So that's it for me.
So I just want to, for the benefit of those who will be listening to this later, I just want us to go over a framework again, so that it can be much more clear and actionable for our listeners, right? So, can you share a little bit of the STAR framework again, how it works, and how it can help those who will be listening to this, please?
Okay, so STAR, that's STAR.
Yes.
So the ST is the situation or the task that you are given, right?
Okay.
Then the A is the action that you took. Okay.
Okay.
In that situation that you found yourself or the task that you were asked to accomplish. And the R stands for results. Okay. Result basically means the outcome. Okay.
Yes.
So there was a situation you find yourself, or there was a task you
Yeah.
were given, you took certain steps, which is the action, and what was the outcome? So the outcome could be positive or negative. So outcome, did you achieve the goal? Okay.
Yeah.
Of either remedying that situation or accomplishing that particular task. So that's basically the STAR framework. So situation, task, action, then result. So when you are asked a question, say for instance, share an example of when, the hospitality. So let me use the hospitality example. So has there been a situation where, or share a situation and what you did? There was a guest that walked in and the guest was very angry. Maybe they placed an order, their
Yeah.
order was delayed and they were very furious. They wanted to see the manager and you were called upon to address that situation. So
Yeah.
you now will think back and say, okay, yes, there's on this particular day, this happened. So you are describing that situation, right?
Yeah.
Now, your task now, when the message now got to you, you were now asked to go and resolve it. So your task was to resolve that particular challenge, okay? To make
Yeah.
sure that this irate guest is calmed and they are happy, they live happily, okay? They
Yeah.
leave the place happy, they are delighted with the service. So you then have
Yeah.
to describe action. What did you then do? Okay, you met the guest and you try to find out what the challenge was because they were shouting at the top of their voice. They
Yeah.
explained to you what it is. You empathize with them and let them know that you understand what they are saying, that if you were in their situation, maybe you would have even done worse, okay? And then you apologize for what it is and then see if you can remedy that situation. Maybe you now give them something extra on top of whatever it is that they had ordered for to make them happy. And then the guest was happy, excited, and even wrote a recommendation letter for thanking you for the way you stepped in to
Yeah.
address the challenge. You get it? So
Yeah.
I've walked us through that framework:
Yeah.
situation, what a task, what I was supposed to do, what I did, and what was the outcome. So the guest, instead
Okay.
of going out and being angry, the guest was happy. Yeah.
And I think that also comes with what do you call it? It's stipend sometimes. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. A quick one. I know we have gotten in depth. We have covered some discussions on effective feedback. We've talked about principles of giving and receiving feedback, the frameworks, 360 degrees of feedback process. I just want to take us a little bit out of feedback and let's talk about HR with EM, because the African market is becoming a space where maybe some people would say Africans are running to the West while the West are running to Africa, right? But each individual is also entitled to how they're going about that. But with the whole, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, I was watching what do you call it? The summit from WEF, that's World Economic Forum, talking about the how Africa is trying to advance with global economy, with digitization and everything. finance and all the things you could ever think of for the growth of Africa and the world at large, right? So, how is HR with EM or Ima or Michael also contributing to impact the life of professionals in Africa? And is there any projects maybe you have on ground that you'd like to share with us?
Projects. There's always projects. So basically, for this year, you will see me a lot in the international space, speaking at different
Okay.
conferences. Okay,
Okay.
so already there are about almost every month now. There will be at least one conference where I will be speaking,
Okay.
sharing on leadership in HR. And again, with AI playing a significant role in what we do in
Yeah.
HR, I'll also be
Yeah.
sharing how I'm using AI to enhance and improve productivity in the workplace. So those are some of the
Okay.
things that, yeah. And then I'm also on YouTube. So my YouTube channel, I intend to begin from the next month to begin to share some videos. So I encourage everyone who is watching to subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch out for some of the things that I'll be dishing out on the on that particular channel. So there's a lot that I'm working on. I will be unveiling them as they mature, but basically just contributing to other HR professional bodies. So there are several other HR professional bodies across Africa that have reached out to me. I will also be sharing my wealth of knowledge through those platforms to help people on how they can improve, become leaders in the HR space.
Thank you for that, and we're looking forward to seeing more of you. But before we go, you just mentioned something which not every what do you call it? Not every professional is actually looking to read. Some are still being skeptical about how do I blend this, right? Talking about AI, right? So how are you blending? Let's get a sneak peek of your conference coming up in months to come, right? How are you leveraging AI for with your HR profession, right? How are you making it effective for you? Because a lot of professionals are still finding it difficult to to blend AI. For me, I don't see AI as a weapon or something should be scared of, but rather I see it as a productivity tool, right? The same way we didn't have a computer. Today we have a computer, it's very effective and we're using it. And that's how I see how AI might come, despite some of the adverse effects it might have, which we don't really talk about.
So just like you said, AI for me is a productivity tool. It's like an assistant. You know, when you have a PA. So I use AI as my PA. When I want to prepare, say for instance, I wanted to prepare for this session now, this podcast.
Yes.
Okay. I used AI to organize my thoughts, come up with an outline of what I need to share. Okay, I
Okay.
want to talk about this is, normally what you do, you tell your PA, I have a presentation on this topic, create or formulate some sort of outline of what I need to discuss, right? The person
Yeah.
goes, makes a draft and provide you that particular draft, and then you fill in different blanks. So for me, that's the way I use AI. If I want to carry out any particular task or project, or write a report, or even write a memo or a presentation, I can use the AI tools that I have to give me an idea of the things that I should discuss. Okay. So
Okay.
based on that, I can then begin to build my idea around that particular framework. So it helped me to organize my thoughts, gives me an outline that makes it easy for me to discuss whatever it is that I want to discuss.
Thank you very much for sharing that in depth with us, EM. It's been a very, very interesting and insightful conversation for the past 1 hour. As you can see, EM is joining us from his office, and we would have to also allow him to go back to his family and probably have his dinner and also enjoy the cozy bed of the night, right? But in all, thank you very much for the time, and thank you very much to everyone who has been subscribing, staying active with us. With all we've discussed today, we've had different conversations on receiving and giving feedback, and even our listeners. Olufemi, thank you very much for that. He says here, good point. Organizations need to have proper process in place to give and receive feedback, and people should be trained on how to give and receive feedback. And it is delicate art. And Raphael is also saying here, he's saying thanks for the inspiring session. So yes, I think this has been a very wonderful 1 hour in-depth conversation, and thank you to the internet, right? I also have to pass that because most times you realize that we'll be having lots of glitch, but I think today it has effectively given us a good feedback for us to discuss this from start to finish, and I really appreciate that. Before we round up, do you have any last word for our listeners who have been with us all along till this very moment? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. I think while trying to praise the internet, it became a thing. At least it's been able to successfully carry us up till this very moment. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into this very conversation today. Like I had said earlier, if you're joining us for the first time, we have link also in the comment box. Feel free to click on the link and let's continue to interact, communicate, connect, and share valuable insight. We have our upcoming magazine called Manager's Corner, which will be focused on remote work. So I'm saying that as much as possible, you also endeavor to subscribe and join that very discussion. Well, I was just about saying the internet was good, and then it did its thing. And yeah, it did its thing. But I think it's been good. Thank you very much for the time, Ian. Okay. Yes, you wanted to say something, please.
Yeah, so I wanted to just thank everyone who joined and listening to us for an hour plus nice, an hour 5 minutes. So I encourage everyone who is following to, if you are watching, subscribe to my channel as well. I'm sure some of you are going to watch it on my channel, so subscribe to my channel. Yes. So that's that. So I look forward to connecting with anyone who feels free, wants to talk more about the conversation that we just finished on giving feedback. Feel free, follow me on all social media platforms. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Threads. Just look for me, you will find me. Use the hashtag HR with EM and you will find me everywhere. Yes.
Thank you very much, EM, for the time. Thank you very much, everyone who has been able to stay put with us to this time. We'll see you guys next week, Thursday, where we'll share more insightful conversation. Have a wonderful night, good evening, or good morning from wherever you're joining us from. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.